Imagine trying to build a house, but you don't have a plan. You're kind of looking around the world and like, yeah, I guess I could build this house anywhere, but I'm not quite sure where to put it. And not even sure if it should have one bedroom or five bedrooms or 17 bedrooms. How many bathrooms? One story, three stories? Should I do it underneath the ground? What should I make it out of? There's a lot of different ways in which to build a house. But one of the first things is you even have to figure out where you are going to build the house. That's one of the first things. Then you got to get blueprints. You got to also figure out who is going to build this thing. You got to get bids from different contractors. You also have to get permits. The city, the county, the municipalities, they want to make sure that you're going to build it, you're going to build it right. You might have to get builders' risk policies. You got to show evidence of being insured. There's a lot of different things that you have to do before you can ever put paint on the walls. Today in this podcast episode, we're going to talk about the BOR process clearly defined. The broker of record letter process clearly defined. I'm going to actually give you 10 different things that you need to do in order to win more signed broker of record letters. Ready? Here we go. Hey, everybody. My name is Charles Specht, and I am the host of the Millionaire Insurance Producer Podcast. It is great to have you with us today, and thank you for letting me speak into your ears. I really appreciate that. And as normal, I'm not going to waste a lot of time. I like to get right into it. And today, no different. Broker of record letters. You know what they are? Better figure it out. I actually think that the industry is just obviously on fire in regards to BORs. I hear about BORs all the time. I hear about carriers liking it, not liking it, tightening their belts, releasing BORs. It's happening all over the place. It's happening on PNC. It's happening on EB and so forth. It's a messy process, though. I get it. It is a messy process. But for the employee health benefits listeners, it's a beautiful process, right? I mean, you get a signed broker of record letter, you submit that to the carriers, they start paying you the very next month. You just received the commission because you sent this piece of paper with a signature on it. It's a beautiful thing. Imagine that. An employee health benefits agent who doesn't go after BORs, wow. That's foolish. Now, property and casualty, however, it's slightly different, isn't it? Slightly different on the PNC side. In fact, it's a bit messy. It's messy on our side. Some of the carriers won't accept it, or they won't accept it right away. They want it maybe only 60 days away from the renewal date or whatever. They've all got their philosophies on it, their thoughts. That's okay. I'm not so concerned about them because, look, when you get a signature on a piece of paper, you're winning. You are winning. Yep, it might be a hassle, but who cares? What? You want to go through the quoting process? Is that less of a hassle? No, that's actually more of a hassle. Getting the broker of record letter is control. Control is everything. Why is that everything, Charles? Well, look, I just had a nice Zoom conversation with one of my agency retainer clients a little bit earlier. He's bringing on a new producer for me to begin coaching. And so, it was an initial conversation with him, his producer, and myself. And we're just sort of going through different things. And I was just talking about positioning. And I said, look, I asked my agency owner, I said, tell me about, yourself and your agency, about what percentage of your clients do you retain, renew, keep every single year? He said, it's got to be at least 95, maybe even closer to 98%. And so I told the new producer, I said, pay attention. That's it. Even though the industry statistic is around 92%, that's a lot of small business units, new producers who come and go, they just lose accounts. But when you start really talking about producers who are doing this for life, this is their career, their percentage is much higher. Let's just call it 95%. That means that an agent who comes in and just goes through a quoting process has got about a 5% shot at winning the business. I mean, that's just not a very smart move. Now, I actually feel that it's probably better, a higher percentage than just 5%, because no doubt you likely, even who are listening to this, and I said this to my agency client earlier as well, I said, you probably have a lot of clients where your clients don't even get bids from other agents. They don't even get quotes. They just automatically renew with you. And so most of your clients aren't going through a quoting process. They just automatically renew with you. That's a beautiful thing. That's why insurance is good. And so you don't have to worry about that. It's those that are actually going out and getting quotes. Is where the hit ratio might go a little bit higher. And so with that said, I would tell you that on the low end, around 20% would be the hit ratio of just going out and quoting, kind of throwing mud against the wall. 1 out of 5. That's probably a decent to small. I would say that's small in regards to a win ratio. A micro niche producer is probably going to be somewhere between 40 to 60% based upon how deep in the micro niche you are. And then even above 60% if you're like flat out, just an ace, a winner, a beast in your particular micro niche. But when you really start to go micro niche, when you are focused on that, when the insured sees that you understand all their problems and that you have created solutions to those problems, they see you as the obvious choice of which agent to do business with. And that, my friends, is a very good place to be. That's why going after the broker of record letter simply just makes more sense than going through a quoting process. How can you win more broker of record letters? Well, I'm glad you asked. That's what we're talking about here today. This is the BOR process clearly defined. First and foremost, I don't know, for those of you that can't see, but for those of you who are watching on YouTube, and by the way, I have a YouTube page, Permission Sales with Charles Specht, where you can actually watch these episodes. You'll see that I am sprinkling some magic fairy dust right now. And sadly, I don't have any magic fairy dust for you. There's no magic fairy dust here because you have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to do your pre-prospecting. You have to do your prospecting. You got to go through the first appointment. You got to uncover the pains. You got to put together your 12-month timeline of services. You got to do all of that. And you literally, or is that literally, any which way, you literally have to ask for the business. And if you're not going to man up, woman up, be strong enough, be bold enough, courageous enough to actually ask the insured to fire their agent and give you the business, I don't have any hope for you, and I certainly don't have any magic fairy dust to sprinkle on you and suddenly make you successful. It's just not available. So you got to do the work. But that's okay, because you're listening to the Millionaire Insurance Producer Podcast because you are ready and willing to do the work. And so thank you for that. Appreciate that. Here's the first thing. First thing. You listening up? Here's the first thing. Broker of record letter process clearly defined. You need to clearly define your ideal client. That's step number one. Clearly define your ideal client. I'm not talking about the micro niche yet. I'm talking about what type of client do you want? Size? Do they have a lot of service attached to them? What policies, do you want to sell them? Are they the kind of account that goes out and gets bids often? You have to decide who your ideal customer, your ideal client is. You got to clearly define that. If you don't define it, then you're basically throwing mud against the wall. So spend some time clearly defining what your ideal client is. Once you have that, a lot of things will begin to fall into place. So clearly define your ideal client. The second step here now is where we're getting the micro niche. Now choose your most profitable micro niche that's going to be best aligned with your ideal client. There's some overlap there, but they are completely different issues. Your micro niche can be a number of different things. It can be a specific micro niche inside of an industry, and I would say that's normal. But it can also be other things. You can look at your micro niche as being something particular to maybe an insurance policy, or maybe you're going after work comp, high X mod work comp, and so you're just going after accounts that have debit mods. You can do that kind of stuff. Normally, it's focusing on a class, rather an industry inside a very defined, narrow look, a micro niche, right? It's not just an industry. It's very defined. We're not just doing contractors, we're doing roofers. We're not just doing roofers, we're doing residential roofers. Definitely defined. The more that you can define your micro niche, the more that you can make that narrow, the more that you can get clear on that, the more you're going to win broker of record letters. I mean, I guess I want to sound like the guy from Men's Warehouse. You familiar with those commercials? I guarantee it. I'll just guarantee you're going to look good. That you will win more broker record letters when you are narrowly defined in a singular micro niche. Please pick one. Pick one and go all in. Don't waste time doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of that. Nobody wants that kind of an agent. Nobody wants that kind of an agent. Don't be that guy or girl. Don't be them. Be somebody who's a pro. Be somebody that has narrowly defined micro niche, and you become the most obvious choice of which agent to do business with by that type of prospect. The third thing here now, the third step, is create your 12-month timeline of services. The first one was clearly define your ideal client. Second one, choose your most profitable micro niche. The third one, create your 12-month timeline of services. Quick show of hands. Raise your hand if you have created your 12-month timeline of services. I'll wait. I'll wait because I'm just like, it's amazing how many insurance agents are just saying to themselves, yep, it would be really good if I had one of those. I mean, I bet I would win a lot of clients if I could just put together one of those, but you never really put together one of those. Why is that? Why would you do that? Why would you handcuff yourself? It would be like not having a 12-month timeline of services is like running the 100-yard dash in the Olympics with handcuffs attached to your wrists. And so you're not really like able to run very fast because you're handcuffed. That's what you're doing when you're trying to sell and you don't have a timeline of services to show your prospect what they're going to get from you, who's going to service the account, what they're going to get in regards to services, how you're going to provide solutions to their problems, how you are going to negotiate and renegotiate with underwriters, and it lists which carriers you're going to go to. Like, if the insured can't see it on a piece of paper, then they don't have confidence that you will deliver. Did you hear what I just said? If you don't have it on a piece of paper, they won't feel confident that you'll deliver. Lots of insurance agents talk. We're going to give you service. We're going to be great. But to actually have it on a piece of paper is the smartest way to go. If you haven't yet created a 12-month timeline of services, stop what you're doing and do it. Just start. Get it on a piece of paper. For those of you who are in my mastermind or my one-on-one coaching, or if you have ever bought my digital course called Millionaire Producer School, I actually have an example of that 12-month timeline of services right there in that digital course. If you haven't bought it, it is the digital course that teaches the broker of record letter process from start to finish. And in module 7 of my digital course, I give you a full-blown brochure, a marketing brochure that's geared towards the BOR that you can use with your prospects. And in there is an example of a timeline of services. The top part is detailed towards the renewal process, what you're going to be doing, how you're going to negotiate on their behalf. And the bottom part is what you're going to deliver to them over the course of the year. You can use it, edit it. Feel free to take it and do what you want with it. The Millionaire Insurance Producer School, Millionaire Producer School, is the digital course that I have put together that specifically details the broker of record letter process. It's right there. If you don't have a 12-month timeline of services, use it. And by the way, if you're interested in that course, go to my website, permissiongroup.com, and you can click at the top, Millionaire Producer School, the digital course. It will tell you all about it and how you can purchase it. Be really helpful. The fourth point here now is branding and scripting for your micro niche. This really comes down to maybe even the cold call carrot. It's what you're saying to your micro niche. Are you speaking their words? Are you saying things to them that get them interested in wanting to meet with you, to hear from you, to learn from you, to meet with you? You need to be using their language. You need to be using pictures and videos that are in their industry. And I guess even from this branding and scripting part, I want you to stop thinking of yourself as an insurance agent. I want you to switch it. You are no longer, please listen to me. I don't know what you're doing right now, but you need to listen to this part because this is flat out gold and it's free, right? But here's the issue. I want you to stop thinking about yourself as an insurance agent. You are not an insurance agent any longer. What you are is you are somebody who is in your micro niche. And you just happen to have a specialization in that micro niche that focuses on insurance and risk management strategies. That's a big difference than saying, I'm an insurance agent who writes roofing contractors. Rather than saying, I'm in the roofing industry, what separates us apart is that we understand risk, safety, loss control, and how to purchase the best insurance policies for roofing contractors. And we do that better than anybody else in the state inside the roofing industry. Like, change how you market yourself, the words that you use, how you put yourself out there on social media, your email marketing, your brochures, when you go and do a walk-in visit, when you go to a networking event, whatever. Stop calling yourself an insurance agent. Stop calling yourself a trusted advisor. Speak about yourself as somebody who is in that industry. I'm a roofing consultant. What does that mean? I'm a roofing advisor. I'm a roofing industry consultant, whatever. Talk about yourself that way, because really that's what you need to be. That's so much different than just saying, I'm an insurance agent and I sling policies, because that's what they think, because they've already got an insurance agent. They've already got one of those. Oh, but a roofing contractor? But a roofing consultant, a roofing advisor, someone who understands the roofing industry, that's different. Clearly define your ideal clients. That's the first one. Choose your micro niche, your most profitable micro niche. Number 2, create your 12-month time out of services. 3, then we just talked about branding and scripting for your micro niche. Now 5, it's your 3-prong approach to prospecting. By this, I mean you have to have at least 3 ways in which to prospect. Please don't tell me that you only make cold calls. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Or don't tell me, well, I only do email marketing. You don't prospect any other way. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. Why? Because your results are probably only about a third of what they could be if you added 2 other ways in which to prospect. 3 ways, 3 prongs. It's like a 3-legged stool. It's just much safer to sit on when it's got 3 legs rather than say 1 or just 2. It is a safe way in which to prospect. Cold calling might be one of them, but then maybe also email or social media or walk-in visits or whatever. But there has to be multiple ways in which you're prospecting. Why? Because 1, the fortune is in the follow-up. You need ways in which to follow up with your prospects, because if you're like most people, you're probably not reaching out to the decision makers on the first time that you speak to them. So you need to have a follow-up program that is consistent and that you can repeat it over and over and over, and you need to be doing it in different ways. Why? Because just because you like cold calling, for example, maybe just because you like cold calling, it doesn't mean that your prospects like to be cold called. I don't like to be cold called. Do you? I don't like it when somebody, calls up on my cell phone while I'm in the middle of dinner. I'm not going to answer it. And as I've said many times, I don't know if I've said it on this podcast or not, I say it in my mastermind all the time, but if anybody tried to prospect me by calling me on the telephone, it is a waste of time. You will never sell me anything, because I just don't have time to talk to people anymore. I'm just busy. I'm just very busy. I just don't want to talk. If I get like a call and the first thing I do is I look at my phone like, who's that? I have no idea who that is. Delete. Like, I don't have time for it. If it's important enough, they'll leave a message and then I'll listen to the voice message. But I can tell you this, you send me an email, we might do business. If you send me a direct message or maybe even comment on my LinkedIn or something like that, we'll talk. We might do business. You might even send me something in the mail, snail mail, and I get it. We might do business. But calling me on the telephone, it used to work. It just doesn't work anymore. And a lot of your prospects are like that too. If you only have, say, a 3% hit ratio on your cold calling, well, maybe you get a 3% also on your email, and you might get a 3% also on your social media, which is basically about a 9% overall return on your prospecting, whereas if you're only doing cold call, you get a 3%. So you want to incorporate other ways in which to prospect. It is the best way, and please don't tell me you are a one-trick pony where you've got one way in which to prospect. Man, that is lame. Lame. And please do not be one of those agents who say cold calling doesn't work. Yeah, it does. It might just not work for you because your script is lame, or maybe because you can't get past gatekeepers, or maybe because you're not empathetic when you give them a call. Maybe you come across as not empathetic. There's lots of different ways in which to be more successful. Email and so forth. Even like this morning on LinkedIn. I put out, and by the way, this should come out in about a week, so just go and check. It's in my LinkedIn profile. But I put out a post this morning on email marketing, and it was about headlines in your email, because the email headline is probably one of the most important things you can do when it comes to your email marketing, because if you put in certain words in that headline, it's going to trigger spam folders and it will never end up in the inbox of your prospects. I mean, what good is the world's greatest email if it never even ends up in the inbox and it ends up in people's spam folders where they're not going to check it? So I would tell you that many insurance agents falter at email marketing. One, they don't even do it for the most part. Two, their emails are terrible. But three, they never think about their email headline and they're using words that generate spam. And so I put in that post this morning a number of different words, and this one was, I think, put out by HubSpot that say, don't put these words in your email headline, otherwise it'll trigger spam. Well, I actually have a number of clients who started to stop doing those words, and their hit ratio went up dramatically on email. They're getting replies, they're getting people interested. Why? Well, because more of your emails now are actually being seen by the people who you're emailing it to. Spam is real, and we just need to be able to overcome it. Bad headlines are kind of like not being able to overcome the gatekeeper when it comes to cold calls. Bad headlines automatically go into spam. Talking to a gatekeeper, never get a chance to talk to the decision maker. They're the same. Have a hard time getting past gatekeepers on cold calls? Yep. Have a hard time getting your email to work? Yep. Probably because your email headlines are terrible. You know what? We got to focus on the places in which we are weak in order to get stronger. But your three-prong approach to prospecting is another aspect to the BOR process. A lot of this is just pre-prospecting. It's getting ready for it. We then have to have the sixth step here, which is prospect nonstop and set appointments with your cold call carrot. This is your number one goal. What's the goal of prospecting? Set an appointment. All of that we just talked about is like getting ready for prospecting. Now we prospect. What's the goal of prospecting? To set the appointment. That's the goal. That's why we do the cold calling. That's why we do the email. We want to set the appointment, but you have to prospect nonstop to set appointments. And you do that with your C3, your cold call carrot. What's your cold call carrot? It's your script. It might be what you're doing in the email. It might be the message you leave on a voice message. It's what you say to the decision maker when you're speaking to them on telephone. It's what you say when you're at a networking event. Somebody comes up to you and says, Charles, what do you do? It's what you say to people that is going to generate interest. Oh, I'm glad that you asked, Bob, because I actually help roofers just like you. I'm in the roofing business, and I focus on helping roofers lower their overall claims on their losses. I help them lower those claims. And while doing that, I'm able to even help some roofing contractors lower their insurance costs by as much as 37% on the first year of doing business with me, because I actually know what the underwriters are looking for. And so we have a specific trademarked way in which to negotiate with those roofing underwriters from the carriers. Maybe that's your cold call carrot. I don't know. You got to come up with it. But what is it? It's something that's going to reach into their minds and say, wow, I want to give you 30 minutes out of the remainder of my life in order to meet with you to find out more about that. Because that's basically what we're asking for, right? We're asking for 30 minutes out of the remainder of that person's lifespan to meet with us to talk about insurance. That's what we're doing. Prospect nonstop. That's the sixth one. Now, the seventh one here, starting to get into the nitty-gritty. This is where you're meeting with the prospect. Now, we're finally there. This is your first appointment. Your first appointment. During this first appointment with the decision maker present, you got to build that rapport. You got to get them to know you, like you, and trust you. You got to get them to feel comfortable with you and so forth. You have to do that. Building rapport is so very important. But then the next three parts of that first meeting are talking about problems. You need to uncover problems, because if everything is going really well for the insured and their agent, you're not probably going to win the business. But if you can uncover a number of problems, you, my friend, will win some business, because you can provide solutions to those problems. And the more problems that you can uncover, and by the way, let me just also put a little asterisk next to this, but every time you uncover a problem that the insured is dealing with, I want you to somehow figure out how to attach a dollar amount to it. Oh, you're having a hard time keeping employees, huh? That turnover must be hard. Talk to me just about training. Like, how much additional money are you spending just from training, all these new employees that come in? Why is that important? Well, let me just tell you. I actually had an employee health benefits agent down in Florida, and I remember that she was working with this large McDonald's franchisee. This McDonald's franchisee, I think, owned like 14 or 15 different McDonald's, whatever it was. They were spending something like $400,000 a year just training new employees. And I think that also included maybe the uniforms, like they give them a McDonald's shirt and they just don't get it back. So they're out $400,000 a year just from training. just from training these new people from the turnover. Wow. Big problem. You want to find out those problems and attach a dollar amount to it, because every time you attach a dollar amount, you get to add it up, you get to add it up, you get to add it up. And then as you're adding up all these problems, they're going to see, wow, these problems are very expensive for me. We need to be able to figure this out. And then great. When you put together your solution, you say, my solution can take care of that one, can take care of that one, can take care of that one. I mean, not only do I can save you some money on the insurance, but wow, what else am I doing here to be able to save you money? You then become my friend, the most obvious choice of which to do business with. And the broker of record letter becomes that much easier. So you build rapport. That's the first part in that first appointment. Then you got to find problems in their micro niche. Then I say go to problems in their own personal business, and then problems in the insurance plan. Problems in their micro niche, it's still fairly neutral territory. Then we start talking about problems in their business like cash flow, can't find new drivers, they've got a claims problem, too much material handling claims, whatever it is. We're going to find those problems. And then problems in the insurance plan, problems with the current carrier and the policy, maybe lack of coverage, not very good terms and conditions, maybe problems in the plan, the MPN, whatever it is, just problems in the policy, the plan. Then problems with maybe the carrier personnel, bad audit, bad underwriter, what is it? A claim that was handled by a claims adjuster bad. I want to find out problems. Problems then also in the agency, problems with the account manager, the receptionist, problems with the other agent, showing up last minute with quotes, promised a lot of different services, never actually fulfilled those services. The agent never actually goes back and renegotiates, whatever. Problems. Because then the fifth part of that meeting is then when you finally go through your 12-month timeline of services with them and you start to highlight all of these answers to all the problems that you knew were going to come up. Why? Because you're smart and you focus in a micro niche and you know what the problems are. And you know then how you're going to prevent these problems. And so you're then you're attacking them, you're figuring them out, you're adding up all the problems, and you're helping the insured to see, wow, we've got a problem. But if I had you as my agent, that actually takes care of a lot of these problems. And then when you finish that 12-month timeline of services, you have a deliberate ask. Bob, are these the services you would want from me and my agency moving forward if we were to become your agent? Bob, are these the services you would want from me and my agency going forward if we were to become your agent? When they say yes, that's when you pull out the broker of record letter. Glad you see that too, Bob. Then you put it down, they sign it, right? And that leads us then to the eighth point. You got to literally ask for the signed BOR. Please ask for the signed BOR. Please ask for the signed BOR. I don't even care if you don't have access to the current carrier. Ask for the signed BOR on the current policy, but definitely on all of the other markets you want to go to. All of them. Ask for the carriers you want. They should be listed on your 12-month timeline of services, by the way. Now, let's just say you can't get it. Let's say they don't offer it, or maybe they do. Either which way. And maybe you want to give them some kind of a Bugatti service to schedule a second meeting. So let's say, for example, you ask for that. And by the way, this is the ninth step. If they say no to the first time you ask for it, maybe you give them what I call the Bugatti service, a free service that they can test drive for a little bit, right? Because anybody who's buying a Bugatti is going to test drive that thing, going to take it to the mechanic. They're going to do a once over on it. They're going to make sure it's well taken care of. They're going to do a lot of research on the history, all that kind of stuff. Well, that's what we're doing here. Our Bugatti service is letting them test drive our agency. They're getting a chance to really see how we work, what we provide. We give them the Bugatti test drive service, and then we schedule the second meeting. So we're scheduling the second meeting after that first meeting if we ask for it and they say, no, not yet. Well, I'm going to give you this service. You can see exactly what it is that we offer. In the meantime, we'll gather a lot of the policy information. We'll start working on it, but I need to schedule a second meeting with you so that you can really see what it is that we're having to offer. You can do a policy audit, whatever it's going to be. You can do different things, but it's the Bugatti service that you're going to offer. And then the 10th point is simply drip value during no man's land. You drip valuable content, testimonials. You rinse and repeat. You are sending them emails about, here, I just found this, I found this article on Forbes.com, and it talks about 10 different things that CEOs can do to enhance the profitability of their organization. I thought it'd be really helpful for you. Or, hey, I just saw this article on roofingmagazine.com, and it said, here are 3 things that the best CFOs in the roofing industry are doing to reduce expenses. Hopefully you'll find a lot of value out of that. And there's just no ask there. It's just providing valuable. You just drip that content over to them. You might even like send them a couple of testimonials. Say, hey, let's just set up our second appointment. In the meantime, here are 3 testimonials from my current roofing clients who are saying that they're actually getting a lot of value from doing business with us, saving money as well as these services. I would love for you to get in contact with them to kind of check us out. You do that, and then you just continue to rinse and repeat. This is the BOR process, my friends. This is it. It is the first part of it is pre-prospecting and prospecting. The second part of it is relationship. Prospecting is a numbers game. Got to do the numbers. You got to know the numbers. You got to know your numbers. You got to put in the numbers. You got to do the work. There's no magic fairy dust. Remember, I talked about that. You got to do the work. There's no magic fairy dust. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the hours. You send the emails. You do the telephone calls, all that kind of stuff. You're prospecting. You're setting all those appointments. Then when you finally get to that set appointment, you're not prospecting anymore. Now it's relationship. And by relationship, I mean you got to get the other agent fired in order for you to get hired. And if you can't get that agent fired, you will never get a new client. Can I say it any better than that? Probably I could, but I can't think of it. If you can't get people fired, you can't get hired. There's already an agent providing the services. The insured has to decide not to do business with them in order to do business with you. Why not just ask that question early in the process rather than having to go through an entire quoting process and then sort of like hope they come to that decision by themselves after you've put in 15 to 20 hours? The broker of record letter ask is basically the same thing you're doing after you even go through the quoting process. Please fire your agent in order to do business with me. Please don't do business with him or her so you can do business with me. It's the same thing. It's just wiser and more strategic to ask it earlier in the conversation rather than being timid and fearful and not ask it at all. I mean, frankly, why would you want to waste your life? Why would you want to waste your life? You don't have to if you really focus on the broker of record letter process and have it clearly defined. My name is Charles Specht. I am the president and CEO of Permission Network, where I teach and train insurance agents just like you how to build a $1 million or more book of business through signed broker of record letters. This is the Millionaire Insurance Producer Podcast.